Hey guys, we're back with I think it's part 4. In case you've missed the first 3, we have started with 223 cases that we picked up from the range yesterday, and then we took a full-length resizing die and we reformed them. But I took the decapping pin out of the die and just reformed it on the outside. So still got the 223 shoulder, but it also added the 300 blackout shoulder. Then we used the saw in part 2 and we cut the 223 shoulder off of it. And we're there. And as I said, this was kind of an optional step, but we chamfered and deburred the cases we just cut. Now, these cases are inside the maximum trim length, or the maximum case length. So we could pop primers and be done. But I'm going to get them all down to case trim length. So our next step, though, as I just said, we're going to pop these primers. So it is back to the full length resizing die, but this time we're actually putting the decapping pin back in it. So went ahead and put the decapping pin back in the full length resizing die, and we're going to run all these cases back through the die. So as I said before, I use Unique, and I use Unique case lube. And really, it just takes ever so little to do this. I mean, you just literally just kind of tap your finger in it. You'll barely have any on there. Just rub it on the bottom half. Don't get it up past the shoulder. If you get it up past the shoulder, you can dent the shoulder of them. I'll run it in there a couple of times. And, you know, when I went through before without the decapping pin, it's going to pull that shoulder down, and then the expander ball will actually bring it back out to the right circumference. But you don't have to. You don't have to have that in there. A lot of people do it without it. It actually gives you a little bit better bullet tension to make it where you don't have to crimp. But it doesn't really matter. I do it this way. I don't have a universal decapping tool, depriming tool. I don't have one, so I do it this way. So after I get them all cut and chamfered and deburred, now we run them back through the die again with the decapping pin in to get all of our primers out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. I don't know, I got 150 or 200 of them, not really sure, I haven't counted yet. So I'm going to get those, and once I get those done, we will move on to the next step, which will be to trim the cases down to case trim length. So I do it like this for another reason, which is you're not going to really draw the cases out too much when you take the decapping pin out. So you take the decapping pin out and you're really just kind of pressing that stuff in, pressing the brass in. But then when you put the decapping pin in and then you run it through there and that expander ball runs through, you're going to draw that out a little bit. So I want to go ahead and run it through. You want to run it through, if you're going to take it down, if you're going to trim it down to case trim length, you're going to want to run it through the sizer before. Now, whether you do a neck size or you do a full length resize like I do, you want to do whatever sizing you're going to do before you trim. That way you don't get it down to, the length that you want. You don't get your cases down to the length that you want, and then you end up adding a few thousandths and you won't add much. I mean, it'll be 3 or 4 thousandths at the most, but you don't want to get it down to just the perfect trim length, and then you end up ruining it all by running it through the sizer and adding a few thousandths back on. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get done with all of these. I'm gonna finish what I got here, and we will talk again when it's time to trim.